Hey guys, this is Mitch with FinePoint CGI, and today we're going to talk about moving platforms. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an extendable movement platform system that allows us to place points in our scene, and our platform will move to those points. We're also going to talk about doing one-way platforms so the character can jump through the platforms, and we're going to talk about how to drop through those platforms. So that's what I got in store for you guys today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click up here on our game manager. We're going to add in a child node. We're going to go ahead and add in a node 2D. So let's go ahead and add in that. And we're going to name it platform. So let's go ahead and name it platform. And then we're going to right click, add in another child node. We're going to make a kinematic 2D body. And we're going to go ahead and add in a collision shape. So let's go ahead and add in another child object. And we will add in a collision shape here. And a collision shape is going to allow us to create collision for our kinematic 2D object. And then what we're going to do is we're going to right click on our kinematic 2D object. We're going to add in a child node. And we are going to add in a sprite. And then we are going to right click one more time. We're going to add in a tween object. And what a tween object is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to actually lerp our object between two values in code. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click on our collision shape object. We're going to make it a rectangle shape. You'll see where our object is right here. And we are going to go ahead and click on our sprite. Let's go zoom in on our little sprite. And we are going to come to our platformer Metrovania. And we are going to go to miscellaneous sprites. And let's see if we have ourselves a platform. Let me see. I don't think we actually have a platform. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pull a sprite stone from here, and I'm going to drag that in here. That's just going to give me a little stone object, and we're going to re-import this as a pixel object. So there we go. We are going to scale this down just a tiny bit, I think, and we'll just make it like that. And then we're going to go ahead and change our collision shape to be the perfect size for this, something like that. And then we're going to go ahead and move. If we select this little icon here, we can move this whole thing. Let's go ahead and drag it over here. And let's go ahead and scale this little object up to something like this. I know it's not looking pretty, but it'll at least get us, to where we need to be. So now, if we go ahead and we run this, let's see what this is going to do for us. So if we run over here and we jump, we have ourselves a little platform. So that's exciting. We can't jump through it, which isn't great. So if I climb up here and I try to dive up there, I can't actually shift through it. It won't let me. So you can see that it actually will not let me go through that. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to look at is we need to look at our collision object. If you look at it, you can see that there's a thing called one-way collision. If you go ahead and turn this on, you'll see that there's a little arrow here, and this is where the one-way is coming from. So in this case, it's coming from the bottom, right? So if I go ahead and hit play, and I run through here, and I drop, let me climb back up. I can now jump through it. You can see that I can climb through the object and actually, land on top of it. So that's awesome. So now that we have that, that's our one-way section completed already that quickly. And Godot just kind of handles it, which is great. Now let's go ahead and create our platform so that it moves, because that's the other big portion of this, right? So let's go ahead and right click on our platform, add in a child node, and we will add in a node 2D. We'll call this movement location. And we're going to go ahead and add in some position 2D. So we'll add in a position 2D. We'll call this location 1. lock 1, not lock 2, lock 1. And then we'll go ahead and duplicate this a few times. So now we have about 4 different locations. So what we'll do is we will grab location 2 in this case, and we're going to go ahead and transform this down some. And we will disable our platform multi-select thing that we have where you can only select the parent. And we'll just grab our location 2. Let's go ahead and pull this down here. Let's grab location 3. Oh, in this case, I have location 4, so we'll grab location 4 and put it there. We'll grab location 3 and we will put it somewhere like this. So our travel path will be from location 1 to location 2 to location 3 to location 4, and then back to location 1. So instead of back to location 1, we're going to go to location 5. So let's pull location 5 down. Oh, it's right here. So let's grab location 5. We'll put it right here so it goes back to this location, and then it will go back to location 1. So it's going to go down, left, right, up, up, and then rinse and repeat. Perfect. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and save our scene first. And let's right click on our platform and attach a script. And we're going to call it platform.cs. And we will create that. So Godot is going to go ahead and open up Visual Studio, and let's go ahead and get started on our code. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and pull all of our child nodes. So if you remember, we have these children underneath this object. We're going to have to pull these back so that we can order them and allow the platform to kind of move along this axis here. So what we're going to do is first we're going to go get all of our nodes. So get node, and we're going to say it's a node. And we are going to go grab our movement locations, which should be right here. Grab it right here, Control C, and quote Control V. And then we're going to say dot get children. And if we hover over this, it'll say that, hey, it's going to return a type T, and it's going to go ahead, or let's get child, whoops, my apologies, get children, there we are, and you'll see here, if we hover over, it's going to return a Godot collections array, which means that we can't just type array, right, so we can't just go array, you know, move locations, let's say. You can't just say that. And the reason why is because there are 2 different types. So there's system.array and there's Godot collection.array. Now, you can either A, say Godot.collections.array to specifically type it, or you could pull system out and just have array, and that would also fix this issue. Actually, it might not. We might have to go using Godot.collections. There we go. And that would go ahead and give us that array as well. So now that we have that, we need to go ahead and pull back our tween object. So we're going to say tween get node, or I'm sorry, tween is equal to get node. We're going to cast it as a type tween, and we are going to say, what's it called? Kinematic 2D, kinematic body 2D, slash, and if we look at it, we go underneath here, it's called tween, so we'll go ahead and pull that. Tween. All right, and then we're going to say kinematic body 2D, platform, is equal to get node kinematic 2D. And we are going to just pull back our kinematic 2D object here. So we'll go ahead and pull that back right there. And now from here, we need to call our tween. So we need to say tween dot interpolate property right there. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, tween object, run this property from this value to this other value. And we need to go ahead and give it an object. So let's move our platform. And we're going to move our position here. And then we are going to say platform.position, comma, node. But we don't have a node, so we need to go ahead and get our first movement location. So we'll say move location. And actually, I'm going to go ahead, since I know that it's going to be, we'll say 3 or 2. We'll say 2 for now. Dot position. Whoops. Dot position. Oh my goodness, I can't type today. Oh, it's not happy with me. Object does not contain type. I'll probably need to put, let's go node move location, we'll say, is equal to move locations, and we will say 3. Let's go with 2 like we did earlier. And that should, as a node. There we are. And that should allow us just to pull this back instead, because right now this is a generic object. So C# like, I don't know what you're trying to grab at, so I can't compile unless you tell me what I'm supposed to get. So we'll say move location dot position. Does node not have a position? Okay, so if it doesn't have a position, since I know these will be position 2Ds, I know position 2Ds do, so let's go ahead and just switch those over. There we go. And then comma, you'll see the next one is float duration. So let's make that, I don't know, 2 seconds, let's say. Our trans type, we're going to say itween dot, let's see, transition type, we'll say linear, comma, and we're going to say ease type as in out. Now, these are nullable, so you don't actually have to make these. So like, for instance, if I don't want any easing, I can just make this an empty. So I could just do this, and our easing would be out. In my case, I'm going to keep it in real quick just to kind of show you guys how it works. But if we go ahead and run this, you will see, hopefully, that everything will work. I know what's going on. Okay. So one thing that we missed is we need to tell the tween to start. So tween.start. All right. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's see if that fixed our issue. All right. So you can see now it's falling down. But it only goes to this one position and it doesn't go anywhere else. So what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and take a look at our signals that our tween allows. So you can see tween all completed, tween started, tween step. Tween step runs at each step of the animation. Tween started emits when the tween has started. Tween completed emits when the tween is completed. And tween all completed is when all tweens are completed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab tween completed. We're going to put it on platform. I'm going to copy this because in C# it gets funky. So we'll go ahead and connect that. We're going to come down here and we're going to say private void on tween completed. And it passes in an object, obj, comma, node path. And we're not going to use either one of those, but it's nice to get back regardless. Now, once the tween is completed, right, we want to go and fetch our next node to get. So that means this needs to be a global variable, right? Well, at least a global to the class. So we'll say private array move locations like this. And we're going to do the same thing with tween. That way we can just go ahead and grab that. So we'll go ahead and grab that. And then we're going to do the same thing with kinematic 2D. And then we will do the same thing with position 2D. Oh, I'm missing my semicolon. And I believe that was called move lock. So move lock. And I closed my thing by accident. There we go. Now we're going to need to go ahead and delete these so that they're in our scope. And we'll say, hey, when the tween's completed, we're going to need to know which one ran before it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add another thing, another little global variable here. And I'm going to call it private int, because it's going to be an integer, index. All right, and we're going to equal that to 1. We're going to default it out to 1. And the reason why is because the 0 index is our original place where our platform is going to start, right? It starts at 0 and then it moves to 1. So I'm going to start our index at 1. I know I'm a monster, I'm sorry. First thing we're going to do is when the tween is completed, we are going to increment our index. So we're going to say index. Index. Whoops. Plus equals 1. And then we're going to say, hey, if index is greater than our move location dot count minus 1. And the reason why we're minusing 1 is because our count we're going to get back here is going to be plus 1, because the count we get back is 1 based, and the number we get back from like arrays and things like that is 0 based. So we just need to keep that in mind. So if index is above the account amount, we're going to say index is equal to 0. And now that we have that, we're going to say position 2D node is equal to move locations index. And we are going to say as position 2D, because we need to go ahead and cast it. And then we're just going to go ahead and grab this code up here. We're going to control X and we are going to paste that down here. So we don't need to use that anymore. And we'll go ahead and pull this piece out here. And what I'm going to do is up here, I'm going to go ahead and call onTween completed. And I'm going to pass in null and null because I don't need anything special in there. So now that we have this, I can probably get rid of move location, because you can see we have a section in here where I'm grabbing move location. I'm going to do node instead, and I need to format my code. There we are. That's better. That's going to bother me if I don't format it properly. There we go. So what this should do, and I can actually remove this move lock. There we go. And then I'll clean up our code a little bit. So now what it should do is it should pull all of our stuff that it needs. It's going to go ahead and do an onTween completed. It's going to index plus 1. And actually, since it's doing index plus 1, we can go with a 0-based index. So actually, we could probably just do that. And I think that will work. We'll test it and see if it works. And then we'll increment our index. We're going to say, hey, is this over our count? It's not. So then we'll go ahead and say, grab our next index. It will interpolate to that location. And then it will start our next tween. And then it will run until it finishes. And then it will run this code again, which will increment and then continue through our code. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and see if it works. And there we go. Look at that. It works. Awesome. It's as simple as that. There we go. Oh, I am awful at my own game. There we go. Look at that. Not too shabby. Awesome. So why would you want to do it this way instead of any other way, right? What makes this way a good way of going about making these kind of platforms? Well, what we can do now is we could duplicate this platform, go ahead and turn on child locking, drag this little platform up here, and then I can kind of come down here and go ahead and remove these 3 nodes. And then if I shut off child locking here, I click on lock 2 and I just kind of move this over here. Let's say I'm trying to make like a cool little platform thing. All I have to do now is just restart my game. And now I have 2 platforms here lerping between their 2 locations. So it's a super extendable and super simple system to work with. So we have one last thing to do here, and that is to allow our user to fall through one-way platforms. So how do we go about doing that? Well, the easiest way is to go to our players, open up our player scene, right click on our player, and then go ahead and attach a child object. Let's add a raycast 2D object, and let's call this raycast down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to enable that raycast. We will tell to only raycast like 10, maybe 15, maybe 12. There we go. We'll raycast about 12 units down. And then we're going to go ahead and save, open up our player controller, and let's scroll down here and let's find our jump action here. So what we can do is we can say, hey, if get node raycast 2D, and we'll say raycast down, and this needs to have an open and this needs to have a close, and then we can say dot is colliding and input is action. Input dot is action pressed, and let's go ahead and do UI underscore down, and we got to do another and here. Input dot is action just pressed jump. Then we, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Then we are going to take our position. So position is equal to a new vector 2 position.x comma position.y -1. So what is this going to do? Well, what this is going to do is it's going to say, hey, node, go ahead and do a raycast and see if you're colliding with something. If you are colliding with something, input, check to see if they're pressing down on the arrow keys. If they are and they press jump, they must want to go down through the object. So then we're going to go ahead and move it 1 pixel down, which is where a single one-way collision object, that's how thick that collision is. If it's a 2-way collision object, or I guess in this case a 4-way collision object, then moving it down a single pixel won't affect it. But if it is a 1-way, it will affect it. So now what we can do is we can say else if they hit jump, then they can jump. So if we hit Control S and then we flip over here and we hit play, we should be good to go. So if we run over here and test this real quick and we hit down and jump, it doesn't seem to be working. You'll notice that our character is actually jumping, right? But why is that? Well, inside of Godot, if we look at our code, somewhere in here is going bad. Well, inside of Godot, the action that you press is case sensitive. So this capital J is not going to work. We're going to have to do a lowercase j for it to work. But if we go ahead and we save this, and we run over here and we hit down and jump, our character doesn't jump anymore. You can hear me hitting the keys, but he doesn't seem to be going through the platform. But if I let go of jump, or if I let go of down, he jumps just fine. So we know that it's nothing to do with the jump code. It's something to do with the down jump code, right? Well, if we go ahead and we take a look at it, -1 is not a proper well, it's a proper operator, but we're sending the character up a pixel, not down a pixel. So we need to hit plus instead. And if we want to be safe, we can go ahead and just do 2 pixels, and that'll give us enough little leeway there just in case for some reason like the platform is going up and we want to drop through it. So if I hit down in space, you'll notice that the character doesn't fall through the floor. But if we jump onto the platform and we hit down and space, the character now falls through the floor. Simple enough. That's perfect. And I lied to you guys. There's one last thing that we need to do, and that is getting our platforms to have the same speed as the other platforms. So for instance, if I take this object here and I drag it, I don't know, all the way down here, let's say, right? Let's move it, I don't know, down here. And we go ahead and we hit play. You'll see that that object is moving way faster than the other one, right? So we need to do some fanciness here, right? We need to actually calculate the distance between these points to determine how fast things should be moving. So what can we do? Well, what we can do is we can get rid of our 2 here, and we can say node.position.distance2, and then we can say platform.position, and then we're going to need to divide it by something. And the reason why we need to divide it by something is because the number that we're going to get back is going to be a huge number. So if we divide it by something like 20, or we'll say 30, that should give us a good number. So if I re-drag this down here and I play it, you'll see that they're both moving at the exact same speed, exactly like we expected. But that's all I have for you guys today. So, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Hey, if you dislike this video, go ahead and hit that dislike button, because I am here to make content for you guys. Now, this was a viewer suggestion as always, so I definitely listen to you guys. So if you guys have any ideas or anything that you'd like me to cover in the future, let me know and throw it in the comments below, and I'll add it to my Trello board, and I will definitely get to it. But with that being said, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you all next time. Thanks.